The small research vessel drifted through the quiet stretch of space, far outside the normal travel routes of the galaxy. The darkness around it felt heavy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Inside the ship, a mixed crew of aliens and a few humans worked in calm routines. Most of them did not think this mission was anything important. They believed they would simply study an old signal, write a report, and return home. The mission only became interesting when Commander Alira stepped into the main control room and announced that they were finally close to the source of the strange signal. She was tall, with silver eyes and soft blue markings along her skin, a common trait of her species. The other aliens respected her and followed her commands without question. She turned to the crew and told them to prepare for visual contact. On one side of the room, a human researcher named Jason Hill quietly watched the star map. He was calm and avoided drawing attention to himself. Most aliens on the ship barely looked at him, because they believed humans were a simple species with no real impact on galactic matters. Jason knew this, but he did not let it bother him. He only focused on his work and waited to see what they would find. The ship slowed near a dying star. It was red and swollen, burning its last fuel before collapse. The signal they had been following seemed to come from inside the star's corona, where heat and radiation should destroy any structure. But the readings clearly showed something was hidden there. The view screen lit up when the ship's sensors locked onto the object. Everyone on the deck stared. It was not a natural formation. It was not a lost ship. It was something completely different. A station floated inside the heat of the dying star, protected by a glowing energy field. Its outer walls were smooth and metallic, with symbols carved into the structure. The symbols looked like they were part of an old writing system, one that none of the aliens recognized. Commander Alira ordered the ship to maintain distance. She did not want to risk damaging the field or the station. She then called for the team to prepare to board. The alien crew argued for several minutes about who should go inside. Many believed it was too dangerous. Others wanted the honor of discovering new technology. Finally, Alira chose a small group of 4 aliens and Jason, because he was the only human who specialized in ancient star cultures. Even then, some of the crew whispered to each other. They wondered why a human should be included in a mission so important. They believed humans were only useful in small tasks and basic trade. They did not think humanity could offer something valuable in a situation like this. When they reached the station, a circular door opened without anyone touching it. A soft light guided them down a long hallway. The air felt clean, fresh, and strangely warm, as if the station somehow adjusted itself for its visitors. The walls were made of a metal that had no scratches, no rust, and no signs of damage. It looked untouched by time. As the team explored deeper, they saw more symbols carved into the walls. Jason walked slowly beside the markings, studying every line. Something about the symbols felt familiar to him, but he could not explain why. They were not exactly like human writing, yet they carried patterns that reminded him of early human designs, from a time long before modern language existed. One alien scientist, a tall Vasharii named Corin, scoffed at this idea when Jason mentioned it. Corin believed humans were simple beings, only recently joining the interstellar community. He told Jason that humans could not have created something so advanced. Jason did not argue, because he knew Corin would never believe him anyway. They moved into the central chamber of the station. The room was round and wide, with a raised platform in the middle. On the platform was a smooth panel, made of a glowing material. The panel seemed to pulse softly, like a heartbeat. There were no buttons, no switches, nothing that indicated how to operate it. But when Jason stepped closer, the panel brightened. The aliens stepped back in shock. None of them had touched it. Yet the device reacted the moment the human approached. Jason reached out and placed his hand lightly on the panel. Light exploded across the chamber. Lines of energy lit up along the walls and formed patterns in the air. The station felt alive again. A star map appeared above the platform. At first it seemed like an ordinary hologram, showing the galaxy. But then the map zoomed in on regions that no one recognized. The glowing points represented star systems not listed in any modern records. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, arranged in a network that made no sense to the aliens. Commander Alira tried to understand the map, but none of the coordinates matched known empires or travel routes. The symbols repeated in rhythmic patterns, and Jason began to repeat them softly, trying to translate their structure. Some of the shapes resembled early human letters, though not exactly. It was as if the writing came from a distant ancestor of human language, a version that evolved long before people on Earth learned to record history. While they watched the map shift and rotate, the walls around the room changed color. A soft hum filled the air. Jason touched another part of the panel, and the central map began projecting an even more detailed sequence. It showed a timeline. Images of old star systems appeared one by one. Most of them were unknown to the aliens. But there was something about their architecture and their design patterns that felt very similar to human thinking. The aliens did not want to admit it, but the resemblance was undeniable. Corin tried to explain it away by saying that many species develop similar ideas. But as more images appeared, the denial became harder to maintain. The final image in the sequence was Earth. Not modern Earth, but an ancient version of it. The projection showed a time so old that there were no buildings, no cities, only forests and water. Yet the map connected Earth to the unknown star systems like a family tree. The alien crew froze. The implication was impossible. It suggested that humans were connected to star systems that existed long before humans developed civilization on their home world. Jason felt his heart race. But he stood still, trying to understand what this meant. He could not believe that humanity had such a deep, hidden history. It made no sense, and yet the evidence was right in front of him. As they watched, the station suddenly sent out a pulse. It vibrated through the floor and the walls. It was not loud, but it was strong enough for everyone to feel it in their bones. The aliens panicked and tried to shut the device down, but nothing responded to their commands. The pulse shot through space and disappeared into the void. Commander Alira immediately contacted the main ship and ordered them to scan the surrounding area. They reported that the pulse had left the system at a speed beyond normal measurement. It was headed toward a region of space that had no active star maps. When the team returned to the ship, Alira filed a high-level report to the Visharii Council. The Council's response came quickly. They ordered the entire region locked down. They believed the station belonged to an ancient species long gone, and they did not want other empires to find it and gain more power. While the aliens discussed political strategy and scientific theories, Jason sat alone in his shared cabin, thinking about everything he saw. He wondered how humans could be connected to such an ancient structure. He wondered why the symbols reacted to his presence. He wondered why the device showed Earth so clearly. But what disturbed him the most was the pulse that the station sent out. It did not feel like a warning. It felt like a message, and messages were meant for someone. A few days later, the ship's sensors detected several strange readings in distant space. The anomalies were small, almost invisible. But they did not match natural patterns. They seemed to appear suddenly, like faint signals responding to the station's pulse. Jason went to the command deck to look at the readings. Even Commander Alira had never seen anything like them. One of the alien technicians said the signals looked like they were awakening from a long sleep. Another said it felt as if something old was stretching after being dormant for ages. Alira gave orders to monitor the readings without alerting other empires. She did not want to cause panic or invite conflict, but it was already too late. Somewhere far beyond known space, in the cold darkness between galaxies, the pulse reached its destination. It hit an object that had been silent for countless years. The object was enormous, hidden in shadows, and built with technology beyond anything known today. When the pulse touched it, the object woke up, its surface lit with lines of energy. Its engines slowly turned on. It opened massive wings of metal that shimmered in the dark. Inside the ancient vessel, systems activated one by one. A voice spoke softly in a language no one had heard in ages. The machine translated its own message into a form that could travel across the stars. The ship began to move. It headed toward the galaxy. It headed toward the source of the pulse. A message left the ancient vessel and traveled faster than light. It was simple, short, and clear. The message said that the descendants were calling, and the ancestors were returning. Back on the research ship, Jason stood at the window and stared into the stars, feeling a strange pull in his chest. Something old, something deep, something connected to humanity's forgotten past, now moved through the void. He did not know what was coming. The aliens did not know either, but something had awakened, and its return would change everything. The following weeks were full of tension on the research ship. No one expected that the pulse from the ancient station would cause such strange reactions across distant parts of the galaxy. The crew had seen many unusual things during their travels, but this was different. It felt like something old was rising slowly, like a giant waking from a long sleep. Commander Alira tried to keep the crew calm, but even she felt uneasy. She met with the senior officers every morning, trying to understand the signals that appeared in distant regions of space. The signals behaved in ways that made no sense. They blinked in and out of existence, changed direction, and traveled through paths that normal ships could not use. One alien technician believed the signals were echoes from dying stars. Another suggested they were communications from lost empires. But the more they studied them, the clearer it became that these signals were responding to the pulse the station had sent. Jason Hill spent most of his time studying the data. He did not sleep much, because every time the ship picked up a new reading, he saw patterns in the signals that reminded him of the symbols carved inside the ancient station. The symbols seemed to match the rhythm of the pulses. It was as if something out there was answering a message that had been silent for thousands of years. Lena Morgan, the other human researcher on board, joined Jason in the main lab. She had always been curious and patient, and she supported Jason even though she could not fully understand the strange connection he felt to the symbols. She believed that if something from humanity's past was awakening, then it was important to understand it, not fear it. One afternoon, the ship's sensors picked up a new burst of energy. This time it was far stronger than anything before. Everyone rushed to the control deck. Commander Alira asked the technician for details, but even he struggled to explain. The signal did not come from inside the galaxy. It came from the empty dark between galaxies, from a place where no empire had ever traveled. The energy pulse was clear, steady, and powerful. It was heading directly toward them. The entire ship fell silent as they listened to the technician describe the readings. The aliens felt fear spreading across the deck. Space between galaxies was empty, cold, and known to be lifeless. Nothing should have been there. Nothing should have been able to move across that dark space so quickly. Yet something was coming. Hours later, new signals began appearing along the outer regions of the eastern spiral. They were stronger than before, and they followed the same pattern as the symbols inside the station. The crew realized that whatever was coming had fully awakened. The Vashari Council sent an urgent message to the research ship. The council demanded a full explanation for the activation of the ancient station. They wanted to know why the symbols reacted only to the human researchers. They wanted to know why the pulse traveled so far, and why something so powerful was moving in response. Commander Alira tried to explain the truth, but she felt embarrassed that she had no clear answers. She told the council that Jason had activated the device by accident, and that no one knew what the station was designed to reveal. The council did not believe it was an accident. They ordered the ship to remain in the system until they decided what to do next. Meanwhile, the signals from deep space continued to grow stronger. Jason and Lena worked in the lab night after night, trying to decode the patterns in the symbols. Jason felt a strange pull every time he saw the symbols projected on the screen, as if something in his mind recognized them even though he had never seen them before. Lena noticed the tension in his face and asked if he was all right. Jason said he was fine, but he knew he was not telling the full truth. He did not want to worry her. He could feel something deep inside him, something like a memory that he could not describe. It was as if the symbols wanted him to remember something he had forgotten long ago. The turning point came when the ship detected a massive disturbance near an old dormant wormhole. The wormhole had been inactive for thousands of years, and most species believed it was broken and unstable. But now it glowed with bright light, and gravitational waves rippled across nearby systems. Commander Alira stared at the screen in disbelief. She ordered the ship to approach the wormhole carefully. When they reached it, the view screen showed a massive shadow inside the glowing tunnel. The shadow slowly moved forward until its full shape became visible. It was a ship, but not like any modern ship. It was larger than any known design, shaped with smooth curves and glowing lines that ran across its surface like veins of light. The ship did not open fire, did not send threats, and did not broadcast warnings. It simply drifted forward with quiet power, as if it did not need to prove its strength. The crew trembled. Some aliens stepped back from the screen. Others whispered to each other in fear. They felt helpless in front of such a massive, unknown vessel. Even Commander Alira felt her breath tighten. The ancient ship stopped a short distance away from the research vessel. All the lights dimmed. The communication system flickered. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was soft, calm, and spoken in a language no one on the ship had heard before. Yet Jason understood it. He did not know how, but the meaning appeared in his mind, as if it were placed there gently. The voice said that the descendants had awakened the memory beacon. It said that the Watchers were returning to guide their lost kin. It said that humanity was not alone, and never had been. Jason felt his chest tighten. He repeated the message aloud for the others. The aliens stared at him in disbelief. They did not understand why the ancient ship spoke in a language only the human could understand. Lena stood beside him, shocked and silent. Commander Alira asked if this meant humans were connected to the creators of the station. Jason could not give a clear answer. He only knew that whatever had built the ancient ship had been waiting a very long time, and now it had come back. A bright beam of light extended from the ancient vessel and wrapped around the research ship. It did not harm them. Instead, it scanned the entire ship from top to bottom. After the scan ended, a small passage opened on the side of the ancient vessel. The voice spoke again, asking for the human representatives to step inside. The aliens argued back and forth. Some said it was a trap. Some said it was an honor. Some wanted to forbid the humans from going, fearing it would reveal secrets that could change the balance of the galaxy. But Jason felt drawn to the vessel. Lena did too. They both knew that this was something they could not ignore. Commander Alira made the final decision. She told Jason and Lena to go, but warned them to be careful. She feared the ancient ship might take them away and never return them. Jason and Lena entered a small transport pod that floated between the two vessels. When they stepped inside the ancient ship, the air felt warm and comfortable. The walls glowed with gentle light. The corridor shaped itself around them, adjusting the temperature and lighting as if it knew their needs. At the end of the corridor, a figure appeared. It was not human. It was tall, with smooth metallic skin and bright eyes that glowed like stars. The figure spoke in the same ancient language, but again, Jason understood it without trying. The figure explained that its people were known as the Sol Ascendants. They had left the galaxy long before most modern species evolved. They had shaped many young civilizations, guiding them from a distance. When the Ascendants departed, they left behind stations that held memories of their journey and knowledge for those who would come after. Jason listened carefully as the figure continued speaking. It said the Ascendants discovered Earth long ago. They saw something rare in early humanity. Something strong. Something capable of growth and survival. They decided to protect Earth, but they also decided not to interfere too strongly. They wanted humans to find their own path. Lena felt overwhelmed. She asked why the Ascendants returned now. The figure said that the station Jason activated was a memory beacon. Only those with Ascendant heritage could activate it fully. Jason froze when he heard this. He could not believe what the figure was saying. It did not mean that humans were descendants, in a direct biological sense. It meant that humans carried a spark of the same thinking, the same creativity, the same instinct for survival that the Ascendants once had. The Ascendants saw humanity as their spiritual heirs. The figure then warned them. The galaxy was not safe. Other empires would panic. Some would want to control humans. Others would want to destroy them out of fear. The ancient ship had returned to ensure that humanity would not stand alone. Jason and Lena listened in silence. They understood the weight of the truth. They understood that everything had changed. When they left the ancient ship and returned to the research vessel, the aliens looked at them with new fear and confusion. Commander Alira asked them what happened, but Jason did not know how to explain it in a simple way. He only said that the ancient ship saw humans not as a small species, but as rightful heirs of knowledge as old as the galaxy. The crew looked at him differently after that. They did not know what the future held, but they felt a new and powerful force was moving through the stars. They knew that the arrival of the ancient ship was only the beginning, and somewhere far away, across the spiral arms of the galaxy, the first whispers of panic began to spread. The galaxy changed quickly after the ancient ship appeared. News traveled fast, even though Commander Alira tried to keep things quiet. Every empire had spies, and every empire watched the Vasharii borders with great interest. It took only a few days before rumors spread that a lost power had returned, a power connected to humans. Some people refused to believe it, others felt afraid. Many leaders gathered in private meetings to discuss how to protect their own territories. The research ship became the center of attention. Other vessels approached from different directions, pretending to search for minerals or chart the area, but everyone knew they wanted to see the ancient ship. Commander Alira increased security around the vessel and warned other ships to stay back. She did not want anyone to provoke the ancient watchers and create a conflict. Inside the research vessel, Jason and Lena tried to make sense of everything they had learned. They spent hours in the lab, reading the symbols again and again. The symbols were like a language, but they were also something more. They carried emotion and memory, and Jason felt them echo inside his mind. Lena stayed close to him, helping him whenever he struggled. She sensed that he was carrying a weight he did not understand. Sometimes, he stayed quiet for long moments, as if he was listening to something far away. She asked him if he was all right, and he always said yes, but she could see the worry in his eyes. One morning, the ancient ship sent a new message to the research vessel. The message said the Council of Watchers wished to meet the leaders of the modern galaxy. They wanted to explain the return of their people and discuss the role humans would play in the future. Commander Alira felt nervous. She knew that bringing all empires together in one place was dangerous, but she also knew she could not refuse. The Vasharii Council agreed to host the meeting on a neutral station located near a bright star. The station had large halls and open rooms designed for diplomatic gatherings. Dozens of fleets traveled toward the station. Some came with genuine interest, others came with fear, and a few came with secret plans. When Jason and Lena arrived at the station with Commander Alira, they felt hundreds of eyes watching them. Aliens from different species whispered among themselves. Many of them looked confused, because humans had never been the center of such an important event before. Some looked angry, believing that humans were using the ancient watchers to gain power. Others tried to hide their fear. Jason felt uncomfortable with all the attention. He was not used to standing in front of so many important figures. Lena stayed close to him and reminded him to breathe. She told him that they were only here to listen and share the truth. He nodded, but he still felt uneasy. He knew that the Watchers had not returned only for him and Lena. They had returned for all humans. When the ancient ship arrived at the station, everyone fell silent. It did not land or dock. Instead, it hovered near the station, like a floating guardian. A single beam of soft light connected the ship to the meeting hall. The light opened a passage, and 3 tall figures stepped onto the floor. They looked almost like the first figure Jason and Lena had seen, tall, with smooth metallic skin and glowing eyes. The Watchers moved with calm, graceful steps. They did not carry weapons. They did not show fear. They walked as if they had already seen every path and every possible outcome. The hall grew quiet as the Watchers reached the center. One of them spoke in the ancient language. No one understood the words, but Jason did. The meaning appeared inside him as clearly as if someone whispered in his ear. The Watcher said that the galaxy had grown well and had survived many struggles. He said that the Watchers had left so that younger species could find their own way. And now they had returned, only to give guidance, not control. The leaders of the empires began asking questions. Some asked why the Watchers had chosen humans. Others asked if the Watchers planned to rule the galaxy again. A few asked if the Watchers were dangerous. The Watchers responded with calm voices. They explained that humans were not chosen because of power or intelligence. They were chosen because they followed a path similar to the Watchers long ago. They struggled, adapted, and kept moving forward even when they were weak. The Watchers believed humans had a spark that could grow into something great, not through domination, but through understanding and courage. The Watchers also made it clear that they did not want to rule. They wanted to protect the natural growth of the galaxy and prevent conflicts that could destroy entire civilizations. Many leaders felt relieved, but some were not satisfied. One leader from the Kelzar Dominion stepped forward with anger. He accused the Watchers of lying. He said the Watchers only returned to choose humans as their weapons, and that humans would soon use their new power to take control. His voice grew louder as he pointed at Jason and Lena, calling them a danger. The hall became tense. Some aliens nodded in agreement. Others watched silently, unsure of what to believe. Jason felt the pressure of hundreds of eyes on him again. He wanted to speak, but the Watchers lifted a hand gently. The air around the angry leader shimmered, and he froze in place. The Watcher did not hurt him. He only held him still by folding the light around him. It was a gentle reminder that they had power, but they used it with care. The Watcher said that fear often makes people imagine threats where none exist. He said humans needed time, not power, to understand the path ahead. He then released the leader, who stepped back silently. The message was clear. Humans did not need to threaten anyone. But no empire could threaten humans either. The meeting continued for hours. Slowly, the other leaders began to understand the spirit of the Watchers. They realized the return of the Watchers did not mean dominance. It meant guidance, it meant protection, and it meant change. After the meeting, Jason and Lena walked through the station's quiet halls. They felt exhausted, but relieved. Jason wondered what humanity would do with this new knowledge. Lena thought about Earth and how people back home had no idea what was happening across the stars. Commander Alira caught up to them and asked how they felt. Jason said he felt like a door had opened, but he did not yet know what was on the other side. Lena agreed. She said the galaxy looked much bigger now, and more complicated. Alira nodded and said that the galaxy was changing quickly. She promised to help them however she could. She also reminded them that some empires would not accept the Watcher's message so easily. There would be rivals, questions, and possible danger. That night, Jason stood near a large window facing the ancient ship. He felt the same quiet pull inside him as before. He wondered if the Watchers could hear his thoughts. He wondered if they knew his fears. A soft voice spoke behind him. He turned and saw one of the Watchers standing in the hall. The Watcher said that humans had a long future ahead, and that the path would not always be easy. Some species would envy them, some would hate them, but most would one day understand why the Watchers returned. Jason asked why he and Lena had activated the beacon. The Watcher explained that humans carried a quiet rhythm in their minds, a rhythm that matched the ancient language. The beacon sensed this and awakened. The Watcher said that someday humans would understand this rhythm fully. Before leaving, the Watcher told Jason that humanity should move forward without fear. The galaxy could be dangerous, but the Watchers would not guide forever. Humans needed to learn to stand strong on their own. The next morning, the ancient ship prepared to leave. The Watchers announced that they would travel beyond the spiral arms, searching for other lost beacons. Before they departed, they sent one final message to the leaders of the galaxy. The message said that they trusted humanity to grow in its own way. They said they believed humanity would become a gentle but powerful force in the galaxy. The ancient ship rose slowly into the sky. Its wings of light extended. Then it disappeared into a bright ripple and vanished from the region. The station felt strangely quiet after the ship left. The empires slowly returned to their borders. Some left with new respect. Others left with uncertainty, but everyone felt that the galaxy had stepped into a new age. Jason and Lena returned to the research vessel with Commander Alira. They sat in silence as the ship prepared to leave the system. Jason felt tired but hopeful. Lena looked out the window and said she wondered what Earth would think of all this. Alira smiled and said that humans had a long journey ahead. She believed they would surprise the galaxy again and again. As the research ship jumped back into the stars, Jason felt a new strength inside him. He knew the Watchers believed in humanity. He knew the galaxy now saw humans in a different way. What the aliens discovered was shocking, but what humans could become was something far greater, and the galaxy would never forget it.